Hello, this is Mr. Rasmussen with Algebra 2, Lesson 103. This is on division, and this should, well, it looks familiar to me because I just taught this in Algebra 1, Lesson 86 a few weeks back. And if you can remember back then, we have three specific steps that we take, that we just do over and over again to solve that. This may look a little different because it's got the cube in there, but otherwise it does the same exact steps. So let's start out and look at the first example. We're going to divide x plus y into x to the third, and we're going to stick the y to the third all the way over there. Okay, so our first step is to take the x out of this first term here. We're left with x squared. Then our second step is to multiply it into both of those terms there. So we get x to the third by design plus x squared y. Then our third step is to flip the signs in here, and then we add them so that the first term cancels and the second term comes down, and we continue. Now that we get to this point, we do the same steps over again. We take an x out, we're left with negative x y. Multiply back in by design, it's going to be the same thing. Multiply by the second term, we get negative x y squared. Flip our signs, this is going to cancel, and then we start over again. Take an x out, I'm left with plus y to the third. And by design, multiply it back in. Going to be x squared, x y squared, multiply plus y to the third. I'm going to flip my signs here, so this cancels, and then this other top here is like terms that comes back into play. I have a positive y to the third and negative y to the third that actually also cancels, and this is my answer. Okay, so it looks like there's perhaps a little bit of a shortcut that we could do here that I was looking into. Let's look at example number 2, and I'll show you that in just a moment. All right, so we got x minus y over top of x to the third, and then we'll stick my y to the negative third over there. Okay, so we look at if we look at this pattern here, it looks like we could simplify this. Our first term is simply x to the third with an x divided out. So if we take over here, x to the third with an x divided out would be x squared. The last term is the y divided out of here, right? So if we turn that down here, we have a negative y now. We don't have a positive y, we have negative y. But negative y divided out of negative y cubed is a positive y cubed. Then, if we look in the middle here, if we combine both of these and flip the sign, so x and y, and then flip the sign, we would get negative xy there. Here, if we multiply both of these, we get a negative x minus, we get a negative xy, but if we flip the sign, we get a positive xy. I have a feeling that if we do that, we can just get the answer that way, because that is the same answer as in the book there. Okay. I'm going to do it the longhand way just so you can see, and if you need further on that, you can watch Algebra 1 Lesson 86. Go back and find that in the videos there. Alright, so this first one here, we're going to take out an x, get an x squared, multiply back in, we get x to the third, x squared times negative y is negative x squared y. Flip our signs, that cancels, we have that. Take an x out, we have a positive xy. Okay, multiply it back in by the first term, multiply by the second term, we get negative xy squared. Flip our signs, that's going to cancel, then we're left with that. Take out an x, we're left with a positive y squared. Multiply it back in. Second term, negative y to the third. Flip our signs, negative y third here comes back into play. That one, everything cancels, and there's my answer. Okay, all right, go ahead and try these in the practice problem. I see the repetition there in the way this is set up. I'm going to do the first one normal, but then the second one I'm going to do it my shortcut and see if you can get that. All right, practice problem A. We have 2x squared plus y, 4y, and we're dividing that into 8y to the third, and then plus 64y to the third. Okay, if I'm gonna use my shortcut, okay? 2 goes into 8 4 times, so we're gonna have 4y squared, 4 goes in there, 16y squared. So I think there's my shortcut, is to divide this first term into this one and this one into that one. Then I'm going to multiply these two together and then flip my sign. So 2 times 4 is 8. X times y is xy, and then I'll put a negative in there. And I have a feeling that that as my shortcut is going to work. Let's work it out longhand. Okay, so undivide the 2 into 8, same thing as normal division, get a 4, take an x out and get x squared. Multiply that back in, multiply it by the second term and get plus 16x squared y. Flip my signs, that's going to cancel. Now I have a negative 16. Divide by 2, negative 8, take an x out, I'm left with my xy. Multiply back in, negative 16x squared y, multiply by my second part, negative 32xy squared. Flip my sign so that'll cancel, flip that sign, I'm left with that. All right, divide by 2, plus 16, take an x out, I'm left with y squared, there it is. Multiply it back in, I get 32xy squared. Multiply by the second part, I'm going to get a plus 64y to the third. I'm going to flip both my signs, so this cancels, this comes back into play, that also cancels, and yeah, there's my answer. So it works. Okay, practice problem B. Let's use my shortcut. I think it's somewhat tried and true now. If you understand it, I think you may. Okay, I'm going to divide my first term into here. 2 goes into 8 4 times. X divided into x, that's the same thing as this, right? Okay, so x squared. Divide my second part, and negative 4 divided into negative 64 is a positive 16, and I got y squared left over. Then I'm going to multiply these two together. Negative 4 times 2 is a negative 8. However, I'm going to flip that sign, 8xy, and there's my answer for the second practice problem. Okay, if you have any questions, feel free to contact me. Have a great day.